Potteries Thinkbelt, a revitalization plan for the North Staffordshire Potteries. The architect responsible for its creation, Cedric Price, designed a 20,000 student campus in North Staffordshire, which is built around a road and rail network. It was not a single building but a network of mobile classrooms and laboratories placed on the existing rail lines to move from place to place, from modular housing to administrative units to a library to an on-site factory. There were to be 3 major transfer points, which formed a triangle from Madley to Pitt Hill to Mayor, spreading 100 square kilometers encompassing all the towns inside as part of the institution. Price designed 6 types of mobile units. The first one is the rail bus, which is designed to shuttle students to and from various points. The second one is the seminar units, designed to provide service with long stops of scheduled duration. The third one is the self-teach rail units, used in conjunction with open or closed circuit TV transmission. The fourth one is the fold-out inflatable units. Once in place, the sides would flip down, extending the unit to a width of 24 feet, over which a large dome would inflate. These units provide either 2 orthodox 30-person lecture areas or 1 demonstration unit. The last one is the fold-out deck unit. Up to 3 of these units could be parked side by side on parallel tracks and connected into a single 24-foot wide deck or platform. The movement of these units allowed for many variations within the system by permitting present and future configuration to be arranged and reassembled when the change is needed. Madley Transfer Area, one of the largest transfer area. Price designed the area to permit easy linkage between the internal Thinkbelt rail and road system and the national M6 motorway. The Madley transfer area comprised nearly 1,360,000 cubic meters of flexible space. Rising above the Madley transfer area would be several towers containing hotel-type accommodation for short and medium-term staff visiting. Connecting to the social exchange zone and reserving 4,650 square meters for static functions such as storage and mechanical space and flexible faculty area, it leads to a large-scale testbed zone. The network is full of calculated uncertainty, providing users with the freedom to make decisions on their feet and to move on in a non-prescribed way from one point to another. The existing rail lines and roadways are fixed, but the rest is not strictly determined. In a way, it accommodates changes and transformation. The term flexibility is open for interpretation. The idea of flexibility is directly proportional to architect's potential to properly function or operate as an interactive adaptive system, guided by user input. To analyze this further, we can consider certain parameters to the rail-based units, like the number of students entering the space is 30 and the number of teachers is 5, and considering the duration of the class as 3 hours. Similar to the self-teach rail units, but the duration here can be considered as 1 to 2 hours. The access to these space would be through ramps and from the platforms. Considering these parameters, I devised a circulation sequence with different user groups, that is, the student, faculty, and staff. After running the AnyLogic simulation, I noticed that although the lecture spaces seemed to work well, the rack zone and the carrier unit seemed to not have sufficient access way. The existing rail units have an access corridor of 1.9 feet, which seems to be too less, and the carrier units seemed comparatively small. So, based on this analysis, my first hypothesis is that the long linear space, if provided with adequate circulation space, can provide to be a good configuration for an education module. With the increase in corridor space and number of carrier units, the mobile units create a comfortable circulation space. Further, I analyzed the plan of Madley transfer areas at 2 different levels. The first one is at the 12 feet and the second one's at the 24 feet. So, considering at the one at 24 feet, I am considered certain parameters such as seminar units and variable lecture areas to have number of students as 60, number of teachers to be 8, and the duration of the class to be 2 to 3 hours. And considering the faculty offices, the total number of user group to be 23, and I considered the peak hours to be at 9 am, 1 pm, and 7 pm. The parameter also includes students coming in from the accommodation and the visiting faculty or the outsiders entering from the accommodation. Using these parameters, I created my circulation sequence with access ways from the railways, the parking using lifts and staircase, the accommodation towers, and the overhead walkways. The simulation allows users to enter from circulation space during a peak hour. And to analyze further, the flexibility of the floor plan, I moved the variable enclosures to different spaces and trying to configure a new floor plan and ran a simulation with the same parameters. It can be noticed that the flexible floor plan can generate multiple configurations of the classroom layout depending on the user data and seems to work in the most comfortable circulation way. Next, I try to analyze the ground level plan at 12 feet by considering these parameters: the user group to be 60, the teaching and the staff to be 20, and the total number of users to be 80, and considering access ways from parking area, lifts and escalators, and the accommodation tower. And further creating a circulation sequence using these parameters and entry from parking and elevators and escalators, I ran the simulation to further investigate the plan. I noticed that the entry to space and the building does not seem to be the most comfortable space for circulation, and the recessed lift waiting area is also causing pedestrian traffic in the area. To resolve this, certain parameters can be deployed, such as shifting the elevator area to the front and removing walls from the escalator and the entry area, and by decreasing the number of vending areas. The following changes prove to create a better circulation space. My thesis statement is: can technology-driven flexible floor plan defined by modular units act as a catalyst for creating innovative learning institution in a post-pandemic world? This statement is further supported by artifacts from Cedric Price's Pottery Thinkbelt. Modular linear spaces for adequate circulation space proves to be a good configuration for education module, making use of technology to allow full possibility of physical and remote learning using modular units. The flexible floor plan can generate multiple configurations of the seminar or the lecture room layout, depending on the user data. The enclosure and mobile units on wheels allow for easy movement. Thank you.